Breaking down the Vikings from the perspective of a former NFL General Manager of the Year. It's Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Presented by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jeff Diamond's Purple Report. Brought to you today and every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN and available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. I'm Jeff Diamond, former Vikings GM, former Tennessee Titans president. Our producer is AJ Fredrickson, and he does a great job putting together our highlights, or shall we say the lowlights this week, AJ.
It was a tough go before you got in here today, Jeff. Last week, I had a 20-minute highlight video of the game between the Vikings and the Bills, skimming through it, but it's like, overtime win. I was super happy. It's fine. Today, it's a 10-minute long video, and none of the highlights are Vikings related.
No, not
unbelievable.
Not good. It was not a good day for the Purple, unfortunately, against the Dallas Cowboys. Of all teams, I hate the Cowboys. But I guess we got to start.
Everybody.
That's right. We got to start by saying that, or I'll start by saying life in pro sports is a roller coaster. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of ups and downs. And rarely have I seen as dramatic a swing from 1 week to the next compared to the thrilling win in Buffalo and the agonizing defeat against the Cowboys. And it wasn't so much to lose the game to Dallas because, let's face it, they weren't going to go 16-1 this season. We knew that. But I think the fact to lose 40-3 at home in front of an excited U.S. Bank Stadium crowd who was thrilled by the Buffalo win, and yet all the national, shall we say, commentators riding on the Vikings bandwagon.
Yeah.
And believe me, they're dropping off today precipitously, unfortunately. But then again, I think the smart people say it's only one game. Kirk Cousins said that it only counts as one game, and there's still plenty of football left ahead, 7 games in the regular season. The Vikings are going to make the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And if you had told us, AJ, back in August that the Vikings after 10 games would be 8-2, would have the second best record along with Kansas City in the NFL, that they would have a 4-game lead in the NFC North over Detroit of all teams, and that Green Bay would be sitting at 3-7, 4.5 games behind.
I would have sign me up.
Yeah, sign me up. And plus, you've got a 2-game lead for the number 2 seed in the NFC, which guarantees you at least 1 home game and possibly as many as 3 home games if they would continue to win and the Eagles would get knocked off if they get the number 1 seed, which I'm not sure they're going to. Watching Dallas yesterday, I think Dallas is a better team than Philadelphia. But be that as it may, the record is what it is. And here they sit. And as you said, and as I said, if you'd have told us all that back in August, you'd say, sign me up and in a heartbeat. And I'm sure that Kevin O'Connell and everybody at Vikings headquarters would have said the same thing. Yeah. And furthermore, if you had said that you were going to split this tough 2-game stretch at Buffalo and home against Dallas, a team that had beaten the Vikings 3 straight years at U.S. Bank Stadium and a team with plenty of talent, you'd have said, hey, that's pretty good, too, to get that split.
Yeah.
And I actually felt going into the 4-game stretch, starting at Buffalo, then Dallas, now the Patriots on a short week on Thanksgiving night, and then the Jets, all winning teams. I said, if they go 2-2 in that stretch, they're doing pretty good. They can still go 3-1 because they got that win in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. And so they're still in great shape. We know that. But I just think the disappointment is to play so poorly at home and not be competitive in that football game. But I got to say, I get annoyed by the people that say they have a -2 point differential for the season. Who cares? Because all that matters is getting W's. And at the end of the season, they're not going to care about how many points you scored versus how many points you allowed. It might be about the 8th tiebreaker now in playoff seedings and all that, but it doesn't matter. What's important is to get wins, and if they bounce back against New England, then they're in fine shape. But that's going to be no easy task coming up on Thanksgiving night. It will be an exciting game, but we now know they'll be missing Christian Darrisaw, their starting left tackle, who hadn't given up a sack all season until he gave up two in the game to the Cowboys, and the second one was the one where he sustained the second concussion in a couple of weeks. And so that's a big concern going forward, is that left tackle spot. I just think this team as a whole, AJ, they're a little banged up now, and I think they've been missing Dalvin Tomlinson, been kind of under the radar, but you look at Dallas running for 151 yards yesterday, and Tony Pollard breaking off a number of big runs, Ezekiel Elliott getting in the end zone on short yardage. They missed Dalvin Tomlinson inside for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think, and you talk about some of the other injuries that they've been dealing with, and it's just, you think about a Cam Dantzler. I never thought I would say they'd miss Cam Dantzler after his up and down first couple seasons, and especially his fiasco in Detroit last year. But I think they do miss Cam Dantzler, and Caleb Evans was playing pretty well. Andrew Booth Jr. came in yesterday. He was not very good. He gave up some big plays in the passing game, and just kind of tough for what happened with Booth yesterday. So they don't get Dantzler back until Detroit in 3 more weeks. Caleb Evans did practice on a limited basis today, which is good news for the Vikings, and so did Dalvin Tomlinson. So that's also good news. New England's banged up too on the offensive line, by the way. David Andrews, who's an excellent center, and their captain, has a serious thigh injury, very unlikely to play this week, maybe done for the year, and they've got some other injuries too. I think the other guy that has been banged up that they need to get healthy is Zadarius Smith.
Yeah.
And he's been terrific this season, we know that, but he had no sacks, no quarterback hits, no pressures yesterday. He had a chance to wrap up Dak Prescott, which would have been a big sack in the second quarter, couldn't get him down on the ground, and only had 1 tackle in the game, only played 35% of the play. So Zadarius Smith, another guy that they definitely need to get healthy. So before we go to our highlights, let's talk about the Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers. And it's time to visit your Select Minnesota GMC dealers and hit the turf in a truck that's designed to tackle the toughest proving grounds. That's the GMC Sierra SLE. It's bold, precise, and capable. Sierra comes standard with a 2.7-liter turbo high-output engine, delivering 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Or call a winning play with an available 3.0-liter Duramax turbo diesel engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And when it comes to comfort and refinement, climb in and discover the convenience of the standard 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. And don't forget, Sierra is truly the MVP with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. It's time to step up to professional grade and test drive a new GMC Sierra SLE today. Available now at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers or online at TwinCitiesBuickGMC.com. So let's go to our limited highlight reel today, or shall we say more lowlights. And so the game started out okay in the first quarter. It was, other than, I guess, not so okay with the third offensive play of the game for the Vikings when Kirk Cousins was hunted down by the phenom for Dallas, probably the defensive player of the year, Micah Parsons.
Lined up on the near side, standing up and trying to attack. Cousins, here comes Parsons. Parsons got him from behind and the ball is out. And the Cowboys recover. It was Parsons coming around his man and getting to him from behind, and Armstrong has the recovery.
Yeah, and that was that blindside hit by Parsons, and I think Kirk held the ball a little too long. He's got to have that clock in his head to know that somebody may be coming from that backside, and made the mistake there. And the Cowboys went on to kick a field goal on that drive, go up 3-0. The Vikings answer with a nice drive downfield, and their longest offensive play of the game, unfortunately, was only 17 yards, and it was this run by Dalvin Cook.
First down to Cook. He broke one last week. Oh, and a flag was thrown in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and that flag was for actually defensive holding. So the play stood, and the Vikings went down. Unfortunately, T.J. Hawkinson had kind of a rough day. He dropped a perfect pass from Kirk Cousins in the left corner of the end zone. Would have been a touchdown to put the Vikings up 7-3 at that point. They settle for a field goal, and then things start to unravel. And and the Cowboys started to make their move, and they're running the ball efficiently. As I said, missing Dalvin Tomlinson inside, and I don't think it was a very good day for the Vikings linebacking core. We didn't see a lot of big playmaking from Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks that we usually do inside, stopping the run, and Harrison Phillips too. So the Cowboys start to make a move at that point. And I think our next highlight, we've got Tony Pollard. He is an excellent back. I think he's led the NFL in yards per touch the last 2 seasons.
I think he's the best running back on that team.
And he is the best running back on that team, and even better than the high-priced Ezekiel Elliott.
Yes.
And Elliott ran pretty well yesterday, but I think Pollard is the more dangerous back, the more versatile back. And on this particular play, I don't know where the Vikings linebackers and safeties were, but they weren't out in the flat covering Tony Pollard, who scores a 30-yard touchdown.
They're right here. We were there week 2. People were already ready to say it was over. What a job Rush did. Cowboys complete it to Pollard in a sprint. Pollard, touchdown Dallas.
So the Cowboys at that point are in control of the game. At that point, it's 20-3, and as we moved to the end of the first half, kind of another strange sequence with the replay officials who couldn't figure out to stop play on a controversial catch. And as it turns out, they still get the ball downfield and line up for a 60-yard field goal by Brett Maher, who makes the first field goal, and then finally they stop play after he makes the kick. And he gets another shot at it. Here's what happens.
Didn't bother him a bit.
That's bother him at all. I told you he never misses over 60. Because if I said he'll miss, I knew the jinx would go the other way. Didn't make it.
And the funny thing about that you can hear the commentary crew, the first one like barely snuck in that right upright. That one was deeper and right down the middle.
It sure was. It was a great kick right down the middle. Probably been good from 65, or might have set the NFL record. Who knows? Yeah. And by the way, that is Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. CBS's #1 crew that were here for the national doubleheader game. That the Vikings did not reward the national TV audience with an exciting game. In fact, they had to switch off to the Cincinnati-Pittsburgh game in the third quarter. I guess the hope is that come Thursday night, Thanksgiving night, it'll be a better show on national TV against the Patriots.
I hope so.
But as we said, New England brings in a very stout defense, too. They're the #2 team in the league in sacks, by the way, behind Dallas, who added 7 to their total in this particular game. And Kirk Cousins was under siege all day long. Didn't have any time to set up and hit Justin Jefferson. But I will say, AJ, that I was not thrilled with the game plan and the lack of adjustments by the Vikings coaching staff on both sides of the ball, I'll say. I think that it was a big problem in this particular game that they didn't really kind of, first of all, run the ball more because Dallas had given up over 200 yards rushing the last 2 weeks. Secondly, that when they saw that the offensive line was having issues with that pass rush, especially Micah Parsons and Armstrong on the other side, I think they needed to go to more of a quick strike, short passing game, which Justin Jefferson, I think, echoed that sentiment today. I think that was a problem and something that they need to address. As I said, going to this New England game, and they've got Matthew Judon, who is leading the NFL in sacks with 13. You know, Bill Belichick is studying that tape very carefully tonight and figuring out ways to get Judon freed up and potentially against Blake Brandel, the left tackle who will replace Darisaw, who's out this week.
Yeah.
The Vikings have got to figure out a way to help Brandel and also perhaps Ed Ingram inside, or it's going to be another one of those days. But even still, they've got to be able to adjust to a shorter passing game, quick slants, quick wide receiver screens outside to Jefferson and Thielen. That's really the formula that needed to happen this week. And even O'Connell admitted, he said, I didn't, it wasn't my best game either, and neither was it for our team. So as we went to the second half, as we said, 23-3 at halftime, not insurmountable, but not a good situation for the Vikings to be in. And I think that's first drive of the second half was really a killer, that the Vikings got Dallas into 3rd and 14 on this particular drive. And on the day, the Vikings had a lot of trouble on third down on defense. 12 of 17 Dallas was, which is not good enough. And conversely, the Vikings offensively were only 1 of 11. And so in this particular game play, on the first drive of the second half, Tony Pollard, another mistaken coverage, having Jordan Hicks, who's a good player, having a good season, but he should not be matched up one-on-one on an elusive back such as Tony Pollard. And here's what happened.
55 inside. Get a matchup you like? I don't know. It's against Zach Martin. Good luck.
Going deep. Pollard has the catch, and no one will touch him again. Touchdown, Dallas.
And that kind of put the nail in the coffin at 30-3.
For the sake of everybody listening or watching, that's the last highlight or low light of the game that we've had.
That's right. And that, unfortunately, compared to our 11 or so last week against the Bills, as we said, it's just one loss. The Vikings are still in good shape, but they've got some work to do. Got to make some adjustments. It kind of begs the question, AJ, that I was always asked during my NFL career: would you rather be blown out in a game or lose a close game? And because people always assume, well, if it's a blowout, you won't get as nervous. The game's over, which is true. Mm-hmm. But I never wanted to get blown out, especially at home. And national TV and everything that was going on and all the good vibes around this football team. So I would say no. I definitely prefer a close game, not getting blown out. And I think that probably will happen going forward. More close games than any blowouts that are going to happen.
Maybe to piggyback off that for everybody maybe wondering, how does it help or hurt in your mind with your experience to have that quick turnaround where you're not going and waiting until maybe a Sunday or a Sunday night or a Monday night game? You're back at it right away on Thursday.
Yeah, and I think that's something we're going to hear in some of our player and coach interviews, that they definitely talked about that after the game, that definitely want to get the bad taste in your mouth gone quickly, and you have to refocus immediately when you've got a short week and just a couple of practices to get ready for a 6-4 Patriots team that is in playoff contention in that AFC East. I guess the good news is the Vikings are 2-0 against the AFC East. They have one in Buffalo and in Miami, and now the next 2 weeks they'll take on the AFC East again at home, Patriots and Jets. So we'll see how that all turns out. But before we get to our interviews, let's again talk about our Select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers, our great sponsor. It's time to visit your Select Minnesota GMC dealers and hit the turf in a truck that's designed to tackle the toughest proving grounds. That's the GMC Sierra SLE. It's bold, precise, and capable. Sierra comes standard with a 2.7-liter turbo high-output engine, delivering 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. Or call a winning play with an available 3.0-liter Duramax turbo diesel engine with a 10-speed automatic transmission. And when it comes to comfort and refinement, climb in and discover the convenience of the standard 13.4-inch diagonal center touchscreen. And don't forget, Sierra is truly the MVP with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. It's time to step up to professional grade and test drive a new GMC Sierra SLE today. Available now at your Select Minnesota GMC dealers or online at Twin Cities Buick GMC. So let's hear from the head coach after the worst loss of his young NFL coaching career, Kevin O'Connell.
You know, just a night where we didn't play well in any phase of our football team, didn't coach well enough, didn't play well enough. This is not going to be the last time we have to respond after an emotional win to come back and play the next week with much more energy. You know, we got to coach better, like I said, play better across the board, but a huge opportunity for our team to really look inward. We expect to really only in these tough times to be able to rely on our locker room, our players, and our coaches. And we'll be right back here in 4 days with an opportunity to get this taste out of our mouth. But you got to give credit to the Dallas Cowboys. They came in and dominated, and every phase of the football game. And we've got to learn from this. We've got to use this as an opportunity to grow as a football team and handle adversity the right way. And like I said, 4 days from now, we'll get that opportunity against a really good football team right back here at US Bank Stadium.
And Harrison Smith kind of echoed those sentiments about getting back quickly, and that just was not a good day for the Purple, as we said, on Sunday against the Cowboys.
Obviously, it doesn't feel good. They just outplayed us. They out-physicaled us, all the way around. So we'll check it out, learn from it, and move on. It's a quick turnaround.
Was there anything that concerned you the most, the way they played or what they were able to do?
It's hard to tell in the moment. We'll check it out. But like I said, they outplayed us in every phase.
I mean, just how shocking is it? I mean, we're not used to seeing this around here.
It's the NFL. It's not okay. We're not going to dwell on it, but we're going to learn from it. There's good teams and good players everywhere. So if you're not coming with your best stuff every week, it'll bite you.
How good is Tony Pollard?
It's very good.
You get a short week here. Do you like that idea? Go play on Thursday, and I mean, you don't have much choice but to forget about it real quick.
Yeah, that's the schedule. So it's good to got a bad taste in your mouth. It's good to get back out there as quick as you can. So it's up to us to see what we do with it.
Justin Jefferson, for some reason, the Dallas Cowboys have his number, or whatever the case may be, and certainly part of it is that great pass rush that they've got, and that Kirk Cousins doesn't have much time to throw. As I said, I'd like to see more quick striking throws and more quick slants. JJ should never, ever have only 5 targets in a football game when you're talking about one of the very best players at any position in the NFL. And Justin Jefferson talked after the game about what happened.
We just got pressured a lot. Their D-line was getting to Kirk a lot. Didn't really have time to do much, So we got to fix some things up, but we'll be back.
Justin, this team's been so good being resilient all year long, getting down a little bit. What made it just really tough to find that response that you guys have come up with?
It was just tough to move the ball downfield. They had a good plan for us. We just lost as a whole team, and we just got to be better. We got to play better, and we got to come in the game mentally and ready to play.
One star and another. How good was Parsons?
Say it one more time.
One star and another. How good was Micah Parsons?
Oh, yeah. Micah Parsons is Micah Parsons. It's not a surprise that he's making plays out there, being a big factor in their defense. So, we knew that going into the game. We just didn't do a good job staying in front of him. So we just gotta be better all around and, come ready to play Thursday.
A couple of things also contributed to this loss. You talk about some drop balls, as we mentioned, the touchdown drop by T.J. Hawkinson early. He had another drop in the game. There were a couple other drop balls. Too many penalties, including one where Dalvin Cook was jawing with the Vikings' former defensive coordinator, George Edwards, and Dalvin got the flag for it, which I thought was kind of ridiculous. The tackling in general, AJ, was some of the worst that I've seen from the Vikings, certainly this season. Just not wrapping up players, not wrapping up Pollard, not wrapping up Ezekiel Elliott, and including star players such as Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks, Zadarius Smith, who had a good shot to sack, as I mentioned earlier, to sack Dak Prescott back on the 5-yard line. He got away from him. And so I think those are some of the things that happened in this particular game, too. A couple other observations I thought in terms of being able to run the ball. C.J. Ham is a Pro Bowl fullback. He only had 2 snaps in this game. That doesn't make sense to me when you've got a Pro Bowl fullback who's been an effective lead blocker for Dalvin Cook. And Dalvin still had a 6.5-yard average in this ball game. Mm-hmm. Just didn't get enough carries. 11 carries for 72 yards. Again, even when you fall behind, I understand when you fall behind by 4 scores, it's hard to run the ball. You need to throw it to make good chunks of yards. But Dalvin Cook's capable of making some chunks of yards on the ground. If you go to a hurry-up offense, then you can still move the ball. So I thought that was an area that they need to look at, I think, to get CJ a few more snaps. I think he can be effective. He scored a touchdown in Buffalo, by the way, and just, as I said, only 2 snaps, not enough for your Pro Bowl fullback. Let's, for a second, look around the NFL. What's going on heading into Thanksgiving weekend? I think it's going to be fun this week to have really 3 games on Thanksgiving that have teams in playoff contention. It's not always the case. Sometimes we get some real duds on Thanksgiving, especially with the Lions playing. But the Lions have won 3 straight.
They're at least entertaining this year, which I think is better. Like sometimes it's like, all right, well, it's the Lions game. Hey, Dad, you need help frying that turkey now? Like now let's go out. Now, okay, I'll wait for another game. The Bills and Lions might be interesting to watch this year.
Yes, it will be, I think. And the Lions coming off an upset victory, 31-18 over the Giants in the Meadowlands. Meanwhile, the Bills, as you mentioned, will take on the Lions in the early game on Thanksgiving, and they recovered from their stinging defeat to the Vikings to win a game. Speaking of Detroit, it was in Detroit because of the massive snowfall in Buffalo, and they were able to come back and beat the Browns 31-23. Josh Allen didn't have any turnovers in that game, which was a big improvement over his last few weeks. And the Bills are sitting tied with the Dolphins at 7-3 in that AFC East, with the Patriots just 1 game behind and in the hunt and coming here this Thursday night. The second game on Thursday will be the Giants at the Cowboys, and the Giants look like they maybe slip sliding a little bit, and I don't give them much chance to knock off the Cowboys on Thanksgiving with Dallas now on a roll. But Dallas can be a little schizophrenic too, as we saw when they lost in Green Bay last week, which I think was part of the frustration for the Vikings and the Viking fans this week. They thought, oh, Dallas is coming in. They lost to Green Bay, who had lost 5 straight, and Green Bay's 3-7. How good can the Cowboys be? Well, the Cowboys are pretty good when they put it together, and which they did not do in Green Bay, and they definitely did it here, looking like a Super Bowl contender here, obviously. It looked for a while on Sunday as if the Vikings could have a shot at the number 1 seed, because the Eagles were getting beaten in Indianapolis late in the ball game, and the Eagles put together a late drive, and Jalen Hurts scores on a late quarterback draw. So the Eagles escape with a 17-16 win and move to 9-1. As I said, at one point, it looked like the Eagles were going to lose. The Vikings could go ahead and beat the Cowboys. They'd have the number 1 seed. Didn't turn out that way, unfortunately, for the Vikings. And how about the Rams? What a dreadful season for the defending Super Bowl champs, who lost in New Orleans to fall to 3-7, and they're pretty much done for this year. So I think as we head into Thursday, as I said, they're going to face another team that is very stout defensively, talking about the New England Patriots, the 4th-ranked defense in the league. They're 2nd-ranked in number of sacks. The difference, I think, between obviously the Cowboys and the Patriots is the Patriots' offense is not nearly at the level that Dallas is. They don't have the weapons that the Cowboys have. They rank 25th in total offense, 24th in passing, 17th in rushing. They've given up 21 sacks on the season. Their turnover ratio is not what Dallas's was. They're even on turnovers, whereas the Vikings are now +7, having had the 1 fumble yesterday. And the Vikings still rank 3rd in the league in takeaways. That was the first game this season that they did not have a takeaway, by the way. So need to kind of change that around quickly, especially for a defense that now ranks 29th in the league after giving up a ton of yards against Dallas. So it will be a big challenge for the Vikings. Bill Belichick, we know what he's all about, and what he's all about is trying to take away the other team's best player. So Justin Jefferson can expect a lot of double coverage, a lot of corner with help from Devin McCourty, who's an excellent safety, veteran safety. I don't think Justin's going to have much, if any, single coverage, but that doesn't mean they can't get him the ball, as I said, with those quick passes, with the quick outside passes, the wide receiver screens, and let him run after catch out in space. And he's fully capable of doing that. I think that's something that they need to do. But Belichick is going to work hard at taking Jefferson out of the game, and it should create opportunities for Adam Thielen, for KJ Osborne, and TJ Hawkinson to make plays And Hockenson, as we said, got to hold on to the ball. So it'll be an exciting game, big bounce-back game for the Vikings. And certainly, I think the crowd, they may be a little full from Thanksgiving dinner, but they'll get cranked up. They know that the Vikings are still 8-2. And as we said, if you said that back in August, you'd say, wow, we'll take that in a heartbeat. So the 8-2 Vikings against the 6-4 Patriots should be a good one on Thanksgiving night. So thanks to everyone for joining us tonight on Jeff Diamond's Purple Report, brought to you today and every Monday during the Viking season by your select Minnesota Buick GMC dealers on 1500 ESPN and available 24/7 on YouTube via links from the 1500 ESPN and Score North websites. Jeff Diamond, AJ Fredrickson, bidding you good night. We will talk to you next Monday, and we'll break down the Patriots game and preview the New York Jets coming to town.